See? So, Josh Rosenblat is here, and I'm here interviewing my grandfather, Morris Rosenblat. This is Morris, for my oral history project. And before we start, I'll just ask a couple questions for you. Where were you born? This is my grandfather, by the way, and a very loving grandfather, I would say. So, where were you born?
I was born in a little town called Brzeziny in Poland.
And what year was that?
I was born in 1928.
1928 in Poland. And how old were you when your experience with the Holocaust first began? How old would you say?
When the war broke out in Poland, when the Nazis came in, I was about 11 years old.
11 years old. And did you notice anything funny was going on, or did you just think just a war, or what?
At the very beginning, when those Nazis came in by force, they came in with jeeps. Excuse me.
Bless you. Keep going.
And aeroplanes overhead. Even at that age, I could tell that something is not very right.
Okay, Rebecca, can you pause?
I heard to pause.
So the jeeps came in, and that's when you started noticing something was going off.
The tumult, the machinery, jeeps and tanks, and it's important to understand that that was a small town of a total population of about 12,000 people, and 6,000 of them so happened were Jews. And we lived in this town. Jews lived in Poland for maybe 800 years. I was born in that town, my parents were born in that town, my great-great-parents were born in that town. The reason I'm telling you this is at the age prior to the war, at the age of 8 or 9, I have suffered from anti-Semitism. Going to school, they used to call me dirty Jew, go to Palestine. I truly, at 8 or 9, did not understand what Palestine is all about. But I understood dirty Jew is a bad thing. And I felt very uncomfortable. I was beaten up many times going home from school by the Gentiles, meaning the non-Jews. My parents, my father was a tailor. We were basically poor people. My father barely made a living. But all these things didn't matter to me prior to the war, because I had cousins, uncles and aunts in this town, maybe of about 35. Mm-hmm. And I would like to take you fast forward. After the war ended, 5 years later, all my aunts and cousins and uncles were dead. Except out of the 35, 3 of us survived, which is my uncle, one of my uncles, myself and my brother who lives in Israel. This is out of the 35 people. My parents were killed in Auschwitz. My little brother was killed in Auschwitz by the name of Benjamin.
Okay, so that's a good segue into what I'm about to ask you. Describe your experience your first experiences with what we call the Holocaust. What now is referred to. Where did you begin? Where was when you were first taken from your house, or your house with your family? What happened, and where did you go?
The Nazis liquidated that little town.
What was the name of the town?
Brzeziny.
Brzeziny.
Yeah, that's near Lodz. The Nazis has liquidated the whole town, taking all the Jewish people into the huge ghetto called Lodz, L-O-D-Z. And I just want to tell you what happened on the way from Brzeziny to Lodz, which is about 6 miles. Every one of us was carrying a small suitcase. That's about it. We got into the Ghetto Lodz. My father was taken away on the way to the Ghetto Lodz.
In a different
In a different camp. The Ghetto Lodz was a ghetto. My mother and the 3 boys, myself, my brother who survived, lives in Israel, and my little brother by the name of Benjamin. We all came into the Ghetto Lodz. We were given a place to live. We were given 1 room and a kitchenette. It's important to know that that kitchenette had no running water or toilet. The running water and the toilet is in the courtyard downstairs. You go down and you use the pump to pump up a bucket of water and bring it into the house. In this little kitchenette, there was a little sofa with a whole bunch of blankets. I walked over to the blankets and kind of took over the blankets to give it to my mother because it's cold in Poland. There was a young man underneath the blankets about your age, Joshua, 16 or 17. His feet were frozen. I asked him, either you're in Jewish or in Polish. What are you doing in here? He says to me, I'm hiding. The Nazis took my parents away and my sisters and brothers. And I covered myself up, they didn't see me. So where are my parents? I said, there's no parents in the room. They're just my mother and the 2 brothers and my uncle is there. Oh, I see. I don't know how long that man was underneath, that young man. A day, a week, he didn't eat, he was so hungry. His feet were frozen, he could barely talk. I couldn't make out what he was saying. He was so weak. You know what? My mother, God bless her soul, took a slice of bread and gave it to that boy that we only met 5 minutes ago. He took that slice of bread and folded it into 2, put it into his mouth and swallowed it. He couldn't wait to chew it, he was so hungry. And to be honest with you, I was already 12 or 13. I looked at my mother and I said, God, how could you do this? You have 3 children, give it to your children. But you know what? As I grew older, I realized that my mother was right. Those 3 children did eat something today. This poor guy, only God knows, hasn't eaten a day, 2, 3, a week. I don't know how long people can live without food and without water. He passed away a few days later.
So that was in the Ghetto Lodz, and what was the next part of where were you sent next?
In the Ghetto Lodz, I want you to know that everybody has to work. I went to work in a factory as a tailor. My mother went to work in a factory. My brother who survived lives in Israel. He went to work in a factory. And while working, you're getting a little bit of thin soup. The soup loss, if you would look at the soup today, it looks like dirty water. Hot, dirty water. There was no nutrition in it. People died in the Ghetto Lodz on a daily basis. We did not know what's going on outside in the ghetto. We didn't know. We didn't have radio, didn't have newspaper. There was a newspaper, a ghetto newspaper. I don't know whether it's written in Polish or in Yiddish. I want to give you an example of what was written in the newspaper, in the front page. The newspaper amounted to 4 pages. All about the people in the ghetto. And it started like this. And I'm making up those names because I obviously don't remember any of those names. Mrs. Greenbaum committed suicide. She couldn't watch her two little children of 10 and 13 die of hunger. So she committed suicide. Her husband died a few days ago. Mrs. Rosenblum jumped off the 6th floor. Couldn't watch the kids dying of hunger and staying at home sick. And so on and so on. People are dying in the ghetto like flies. All you can see in the ghetto is a wagon on 2 wheels. I don't know what this is called. And a person carries that wagon, picks up,
Wheelbarrow.
yeah, picks up that person who died on the way to work, from work, shopping. They just died and they picked them up.
So
The Ghetto Lodz is being liquidated. All the people in the Ghetto Lodz are going block by block into cattle train, actually a train that carries cattle. There is no water, no toilet. The Nazis filled up those cattle train to the full and closed those huge doors while there is a full, the cattle is full of people, and off we go to Auschwitz. If you would ask me then, tell me, what is that Auschwitz? I would tell you, I don't know. I've never been there. When we arrived in Auschwitz, got off the cattle train, we were separated from my mama and my little brother, who was then, I was already 15 then, or maybe 16. My little brother was about 11 years old, Benjamin. He was taken with my mother. My brother Tzvi and I were pointed to the right, my mother and Benjamin to the left. And seeing such a huge camp, I thought that I'm going to see my mother eventually. Wouldn't you think that if I would have known I'm not going to see my mother anymore, I would come over and give her a hug and a kiss? These things happened so fast. We didn't have enough time to think. Those Germans were giving orders. Those big German dogs, what are they called? The German
Shepherd.
German shepherds were barking like crazy. And we are going to the right, my mother going to the left, and we are being tattooed like this.
Rebecca, zoom in on the tattoo. You can walk towards me if you need to. You got it? You can give me a thumbs up.
I got it.
Okay. How long, before we keep going, just to clarify, how long were you in the Ghetto Lodz? How
Over
many
2 years.
2 years. Okay, so you can go back to this. I just wanted to get that out there. Okay, we're back here.
In
My-
Auschwitz, I being separated from my mother. You want to ask me a question?
No. You can
And my brother and I, we are being tattooed and walked into Auschwitz. Little did I know that in less than 24 hours my mother is going to be dead, and my little brother. Now how did I get to know this? As I walked into Auschwitz, I met two people. They happened to be Germans, but not Nazis. They were inmates. And they asked me and my brother, how long have you been here? And I said, 2 or 3 days. Did you come in here, they asked me, with your parents? I said, with my mother and my little brother. He says to me, I'm not Jewish, I'm a German. But I want you to know that I'm here an inmate like you. I want to show you what happened to your mother and your little brother. Come to my barrack tonight. We'll go up to the attic and I'll show you, which I did. We looked out the attic at night. We could see the chimneys of the ovens working 24 hours a day. The gas chambers were killing Jewish people. Their bodies were being taken out into the crematorium, and their bodies are being burned to ashes, and the Nazis took those ashes and used them as fertilizer. By then, I knew that I don't have a mother anymore. And so did my brother. Auschwitz is not lasting too long for us. We are being transferred, Auschwitz is in Poland, we are being transferred into Germany. And we walked those dead marches. People die like flies. If 1,000 people left Camp 1 to go to Camp 2 on a dead march, less than 50% will arrive in Camp 2. The rest of them will die on the way.
What is, you called it a dead march, what?
People died.
Okay.
It was meant to do this.
Okay.
Because they don't need to use trucks and cars and all these things to transfer us. Let those Jews walk, all of them are going to die. There's no food on the way.
How far do you think the walk was?
God, we worked for days and days and days. At nights we just sat down where we were and fell asleep, and then daybreak we kept on walking. Most of the time without food and very little water.
And it was cold all the time too.
Most of the time it's cold.
It was very cold.
I want to tell you that finally after that walk we arrived in a camp in Austria. It's called Mauthausen, a huge, enormous camp. Mauthausen was a kind of a dead camp. We didn't know that the war is about to come to an end. Mm-hmm. But the war is about to come to an end. Wouldn't you think that if I would know that the war is coming to an end, I would say to myself, hold on to life. In a month from now, you're going to be liberated. But we didn't know. To me, that war looked like forever and ever and ever.
It was a very long time though.
Long, even longer. We came into that camp. You can't imagine how many people were shipped to that camp. Jews. To my great sorrow, really, because I didn't have the strength. To go up to that camp is on the mountain. I said to my brother, I'm not going to go those stairs. You know what he says to me? Moshe, let's go. He took me by the arm and we walked up those stairs. If not him, I would be shot at the bottom because I couldn't walk. He kind of dragged me along. The Nazi would say, you can't walk, boom. But we arrived in the top camp there, on that mountain, by stairs, and there we stay. During the day we go out to work. At night there is bombardment, you can hear bombing, and you know what? I don't care who is bombing whom, because I've had enough with life. I have given up living. That kind of life nobody wants to live anymore. I didn't. When I look back at those days, I say those days I kind of begged to God to take me. Who wants to live that kind of life? I can barely walk, I'm sick, I'm as skinny as a skeleton, my head is shaved, the food is very little that we've been given, and it's You're better off dead. Well, this is not the last camp. We are marching in from that camp to the next camp called Gunskirchen.
Okay, so before we go on to the next camp, let me summarize your experience just so it's understandable. So you started in the Ghetto Lodz, then they took you to Auschwitz, then you went to
To Sachsenhausen,
Sachsenhausen.
Lieberhausen,
Okay,
Mauthausen.
okay. So now you're on to the next camp, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
The next camp, if you would be adults then and drive around the camp, you wouldn't see any camp. It's a forest. The camp is inside the forest. When we came into the camp, Zvi and I, it is April 1945. Not knowingly that I'm going to be liberated within a month or a month and a half. What I've seen in this camp is I hope that you kids in your entire life will not see a scene like this. The forest is covered with snow and slush. There are dead peoples on the ground more than those who are alive. To walk from me to you, 5 feet, I'll walk over dead bodies. Did they die today, yesterday, a day before yesterday? I don't know. They're dead. There's nobody to bury them. At night there is horrible bombardment, but I don't care who is bombing whom. Period. I just don't care to live. The people who were older than me say to us, kids, we are going to be liberated, because the guards around the camp are disappearing. There are no guards. And they opened up the gate, and people walked out to the main road. And over there we met the American army, who quickly drove into our camp, picked my brother, was so sick with diarrhea, he leaned against a tree, and I was watching him dying. Actually, watching my only brother dying. And there's nothing in the world I can do to help him. Nothing. The American army came in. I walked over to the jeep. I talked to him either Yiddish or Polish, which I only realized later on that nobody understands that language. But they didn't need to. When they looked at what's going on, they put all those live people on the jeeps with stretchers, took them straight to the hospital. I went to a DP camp with the American army. My brother went to the hospital. He got better a few weeks later and he was brought to our camp. Now the war is over for me. I would like to go back to my little town. I'm too young and too naive and so uneducated, not realizing that the Jews have not survived. People older than me tell me, and my brother, kids, the Jews are not in your town. The Jews have not survived. So where do we go? We actually signed up to go to Palestine. We went to Palestine in 1945, immediately when the war ended. We were driven to a boarding school. We stayed there for 2 years. We studied a half a day, and we worked a half a day. And within no time, I can read, write, and speak Hebrew, and I can see in the newspapers that the United Nations has granted the Jewish state in 1947 in November in an Arab state. The Jews quickly jumped at opportunity and said, okay, we will get that little Jewish state. The Arabs quickly jumped at opportunity. They said, no, we are going to kill those Jews. And they made war on us. By the next year, 1948, in May, the last British soldiers left the state of Israel, the state left Palestine, and the Jewish Prime Minister declared a Jewish state, and I enlisted into the Jewish army. In my wildest dreams, I can't imagine how great I felt to fight for a Jewish state that we've been waiting for 2,000 years. Everybody on this earth has a state, a place where he was born and he belongs there. The Jews did not have one. And I'm so proud fighting for a Jewish state. While I was in the Israeli army, I found out that my uncle, who lived with us in the ghetto, survived and came to Canada. He wants to see us, and he sends me a ticket. I came to Canada. I stayed in Canada. I married. I have 2 children. And 4 grandchildren. I will never forget when my first grandchild was born, him. I went to the hospital, and his father, God bless his soul, brought him out from the delivery room. And he says, Daddy, the Nazis did not succeed. We have a little Rosenblat. And this is more or less the end of my story.
Well, thank you very much for your time, but So now that we got the overall gist of the story and the terrors and life and the concentration camps and what happened to you, I would just like a few questions to see how you look back on things. So is there any one thing about yourself that you think is the reason why you survived the Holocaust, which 6 million people did not? And what makes you think why do you think you went through what you did without?
The truth of the matter, I just don't know. I know that many Jewish people who were religious were praying to God, and some of them survived. And if they survived, they will tell you, you know why I survived? Because I'm praying to God every day. I was born in a secular family. I wasn't praying to God. Not every day, not any day. I survived. Well, if there is a God, maybe He wanted the Rosenblat family to still exist. Because if I wouldn't survive and my brother, there would be no Rosenblats. That means everybody would have gone for my family. So my brother and I survived, and truly I don't have an answer to that. All I can tell you that I never thought in my wildest dreams that I'm going to live to that age of almost 80 and have 4 grandchildren who are great, and we think about them every day. 2 of them live around the corner, and 2 of them live in Gainesville, Florida. And I'm so thankful to everything, especially to my kids who call me constantly, and my kids who live around the corner come constantly to see us. that gives us some pleasure of life.
So this is one, I've discovered this recently, but I never really knew about it. And you say you don't really know how you survived, and you don't have any explanation, but I think some of the certain things you did after the war should kind of show why. Will you explain to us what you did about your age when you went to Israel? Because I think that is a really interesting fact about your personal experience through the whole thing.
In order to go to school, if I kind of got myself younger a couple of years in order to go to school, because otherwise I wouldn't go to school and I would get no education. So, and I had been going by that age, being born in 1928, which the truth of the matter is I was born 2 years before that, but it doesn't make any difference. I am delighted to be alive and have such a great family.
See, I think you might not think this, but I think things like that, like what you did there, is you say, I'm uneducated, I didn't know anything. But you did. I think doing that shows that you had a will for survival that other people didn't have. I think that was a very ingenious little move of you.
I only had a will of survival after I survived. But within the ghettos, in the camps, I kind of collapsed. I didn't care, especially once we left Auschwitz, I've had it. I said to myself, I'll be better off dead than being alive. That kind of a life just isn't worth living, not at all.
And this is a completely different question, but how do you, because I know you speak, I don't know if he speaks to many classes, and I think he's coming to Eastside later on in the year. And you speak to a lot of people, you travel the country speaking actually. What makes you, how do you do that so successfully without, like, you're reliving such a traumatic experience? How do you do that every time without breaking down? And
I have made this a part of my life because there isn't that many years that I can live. And I said, whatever happens to me isn't important. I need the people in America to know what the Nazis did to the Jews, killing 6 million people within 5-6 years. The truth of the matter is I can't do it. The truth of the matter is I force myself to do it. I can be sick a whole day. When I get a call from a school, I stop being sick. I go to the school, it doesn't matter how far it is. I go to schools in North Carolina, in
Gainesville.
In many places. Pardon me?
Gainesville.
In Gainesville, which is not that far from here. But wherever they call me, it doesn't matter how far it is, I'll be there. The truth of the matter is also, when I'm done that lecture about myself, I come home and I'm physically and emotionally exhausted. I go straight to bed. I can't walk on my feet.
And this is another kind of changing the topic a little bit, but when you see your tattoo, what do you even notice anymore? Or do you think back, like, has it scarred you throughout life, or do you tend to just ignore it now?
I'm not ignoring it, but my tattoo, since my memory is not working too good.
His memory is working better than he says it is, by the way.
My tattoo, each time I look at the tattoo of my grandchildren, Jordan and Rebecca, ask me about it. I said, oh, you've seen the tattoo before. I've had that tattoo since the day I walked into Auschwitz. I've gotten used to it. It's not a matter, it's not bothering me. It isn't something that I've done to myself to be ashamed of. It's them who should be ashamed of. Until today people ask me, why are we talking about the Holocaust? How long are you guys going to be talking about the Holocaust? You know what I want you to know? It's not the Holocaust. It's the Holocaust that got a hold of us. The Holocaust is holding on to me, not vice versa. I'm not holding on to the Holocaust. I would prefer to let the Holocaust go as much as I can. But the Holocaust has got a hold on me and don't let go of me. It's like clutches. Here, I'm holding on to you, do not forget me. That's what the Holocaust is.
And what would you say to the schmucks that deny the Holocaust?
Okay. I have never encountered such people, I want you to know. I know there's a lot of people. And I know that there are either two ways. Either highly educated that are idiots, or not educated that were told that they don't know what's what anyhow. But I would like one guy sitting in front of me tell me, how do you know there wasn't a Holocaust when I've been through that whole fire called the Holocaust?
So all you idiots out there that don't think there was a Holocaust, you're pretty stupid here. The Holocaust is sitting next to you. What would you say you're proud of? Have you ever encountered any of the people you met through the in the concentration camp since then? Any
No.
other so you haven't?
No, I'll tell you who I have encountered. Really. This year, this is 2008, actually 2007. I've been on vacation and happened to meet an American soldier who is my age, maybe a couple years older, liberating my camp. Coincidentally, I said, you have liberated what camp? He says to me, you probably don't know, there was a camp in Austria called Gunskirchen. I said, I definitely know, I was there. And he liberated me. We don't know one another.
Mm-hmm.
But I invited him to my place where I stayed there on vacation.
In North
and
Carolina.
we talked. Yeah. He is not Jewish. He does the same thing. He goes to schools and tells the people what he has seen with his own eyes, what the Nazis did to the Jews. So you don't need to believe me every word. I can turn you to that gentleman. He's alive and well today. I talked to him on the computer.
Very good. Let's see. What would you say your proudest moment after the war is? You think in Israel with
Fighting in the Israeli army.
Israeli army?
Absolutely. This is my proudest moment in my entire life.
You can pause it back. So that is.
Tim, is there a voice here?
So that's all the questions I have
How
for
do you
today.
hear this? You have to hook.
There's like a microphone in there. We're still on.
Okay.
Saba, thank you for your time.
My pleasure.
And all the Gainesvillians out there, I think we will be seeing this lovely man in Gainesville soon if he's keeps up his health and he's feeling okay.
And I would be delighted to come to your school at any time. Even if I'm sick, I'll come there.
Well, we'll talk about that later. But see you later, and give me a good grade on this project.
Absolutely.